What's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I will show you how with the help of AI and n8n you can scrape Google Maps for unlimited leads of local businesses for free. And yeah, that's actually pretty exciting. So as you will see, I have built two different workflows to get this done. So I'm gonna show you everything. Basically, I'm gonna explain what each node does, how it works, and how you can implement the exact same thing. I will also put a link down below in the description where you can download basically these workflows, upload into your own n8n environment and run it as much as you want. But first, I have to give credit to Akram Kadri because I found this basically very similar build on n8n. I just improved it for my own use case because in this case, previously was only extracting the emails, and I noticed that it was extracting emails with weird symbols, so it wasn't actually real emails. But what I just wanted to know to exactly for which site the email is, what search term was used to basically get that email, and the location for which we scraped that email. So just let me zoom in a bit. So as you can see, this is the data. So I'm going to show how everything works. And now, for example, I can show you in real time how the workflow goes. So for example, we have the Airtable trigger. So I'm going to just hit test the workflow. It's going to firstly generate different locations to scrape for with the help of AI. And now it triggers another workflow, which is this workflow, the scraper workflow. That is responsible to actually extracting every single email from the website, and then it adds the information into Airtable. And right now you can't see it running, but for example, if I go into executions over here, you can see that the Google Maps scraper launch, which is responsible for launching the scraper, is running, and then Google Maps scraper is running. So again, if I go back here, you can see that already we iterated over three different items. And here, as you can see, it already added some of the emails. For example, in this case, I'm trying to scrape HVAC companies, and it's pulling out HVAC companies from downtown Los Angeles. So I'm getting their email and I'm getting their website. So for example, I can see that I scraped support at Top Cooling Guys, and I have their website. If I have a need, I can go into the website, do my own research, and then maybe send them an email offering my services or whatever. So now let's get back, and I'm just gonna stop executing this because it's gonna run for a long time. But you can already see we scraped 8 different locations for emails, and this is the information that we got. But now I want to explain what kind of approach we're going to be using for this scraper. So if you go inside Google Maps, again, let me zoom in a bit, you will see that, for example, if I type it in HVAC in Los Angeles, and hit enter, what it's gonna do, it's gonna give me some of the results, but as you can see, it doesn't cover the whole area of LA. And in total, I'm getting around 12 to 13 results, which is definitely not enough if you want to scrape, and get loads of leads or reach out to different businesses. But for example, if I write the same HVAC in Westlake, I will get a smaller region or sub-region of Los Angeles, but I will get additional 12 leads or 12 businesses in that region. And that's why we're going to be using AI. So we're going to be using AI to generate this exact search method for Google, because as you can see, HVAC in Westlake, and it generates a search term for the Google. And this is how we're gonna be basically scraping all of the districts, regions, and neighborhoods in LA, in this case, to generate, let's say, emails of HVAC businesses. And instead of getting, like 15 leads from just all of the LA, now we're gonna scrape every single subregion and every single neighborhood. And that way, we're gonna cover as maximum of area as we can. So now we can go into the Google Maps scraper dash, launch workflow. So just to shortly explain, this workflow is responsible for executing that previous workflow. But how everything starts is that first I'm adding an Airtable trigger. Again, oh, it's zoomed in. So basically I'm triggering on the field created and getting like information from the grid view. So let's say I'm gonna fetch the test data. Yeah, and it fetches right now link to records. But if I go into the location, you can see I have a created field and I have a name and business, HVAC. So you can, name these columns differently. But this is a scraping based on these fields. And this is what is used for the trigger. But then from the trigger, we pass the information to OpenAI. So in this case, I use 4.0 mini model, which is super cheap and it covers like the majority of areas that you want. And now we can look at the prompt very quickly. So it can look pretty scary, but again, I'm gonna drop this in the link down below. Can you download the whole workflow? You can pull out the prompt. But basically what it does here, it tells the requirements how to format the output. So we need business type plus in plus subregion. So HVAC plus in plus Westlake, for example. Again, we give an example, so HVAC and Los Angeles, and then we say what kind of output we expect. And then at the end, I say, please create search queries in, and this pulls the name of a location from the Airtable. So this would be this name. And city and business is gonna be pulling out, where is it? This one. So this variable. So basically, please create search queries in Los Angeles city and HVAC business. And then important, so I mentioned exactly how I want to have the output. So I say, provide me, with an object which has a key of locations and array of this. And then if we go into the structure to output, so I just again wrote output and then again array. So again, this is not exactly perfect. I should probably update this, but this is how it's set up right now. So for example, we can test run this node. And what you'll see is gonna happen is gonna generate just a huge list of different neighborhoods and regions inside of Los Angeles, because this is the specific area that we're pulling. So as you can see, locations, let's go to JSON, or let's be in table, but there's locations, and again, HVAC in Crestview, HVAC in downtown, HVAC in Hollywood, HVAC in Echo Park, HVAC in Westlake, so on and so forth. So we're basically, pulling all of the neighborhoods or as much neighborhoods as we can. Again, this can depend on that prompt. Then we're simply splitting out because when we're getting this data, we're getting it into one single array. So I'm using a split out node. And as you can see, then it just splits into array of objects, which has output.locations. So in the fields, I set basically this, I just dragged this locations, and it creates a separate item for each one of these. Then I have edit fields. So in edit fields, I just basically set 2 additional fields. So first is gonna be the output. So this is gonna be for the search term, as you can see. and there's going to be a location, and this is going to be for the city. And I'm using this just so, for example, when I add records in Airtable, I know for which big city this was. And of course, then I know for which search term it was as well. So this is how that works. And then once we have those 36 items, what it does, it loops over every single one of them. So let's say we have HVAC in Crestview and Los Angeles. So I'm going to just copy this for later on. And then this item is going to be first added into the workflow. And this is going to execute this particular workflow that does the scraping. Just important thing to know that, for example, when setting up this, so select your respective workflow and don't forget to add wait for workflow completion. That means that it doesn't launch workflow one after another and it just doesn't overwhelm n8n and just doesn't duplicate the same records over and over again, because it's gonna launch this workflow and is then gonna wait until it finishes. So now let's see, once this loop triggers this one, how does this work? So for here, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add some mock data. So from the previously added workflow, so that way you can clearly see what's going on. And I'm gonna save it, and we pinned it. So for example, yeah, let's say I run this module or node. I go in over here and you can see I have the output and location. So this is the exact information that is being passed over from this workflow. Then we have the HTTP request. In the HTTP request, we use get method, and in the URL, we basically have Google Maps search URL. If you go here, you can see google.com/map/search, and then there is our query. Of course, you could use coordinates if you want to, but let's say the search query is just easier. And I just add this particular output at the end, and this is how the full URL is going to look like when you're trying to fetch it from Google. And in the settings, yeah, nothing really magical. I think you could add it to continue on error, but no, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you shouldn't add that for this one, because if this is gonna error out, then we're just gonna look for another search query. So now for this one, let's just submit it. Let's see what we get back. And we get back a lot of HTML data. So basically what this is an HTML of exactly what is in here. So for example, if I would go into, let's say, the console, into the elements, we're basically extracting all of this HTML that we have here with that request. And that's how then we can use to extract emails that are inside the websites of these. So now let's go back. So here I have a custom code, basically node. Again, there's gonna be a link down below in the description where you can download the workflow. It's gonna be with this code, totally for free. What you have to do is basically just upload it, and it's gonna have this code. But it just takes the first item, let's say, of the data. It has this regex function. I wrote it with OpenAI. Then it just matches all of the domains that have HTTPS inside here, and then it just maps through it and generates a list of URLs. So let's say test, let's run this, and you can see we got a bunch of URLs. We got HTTPS maps.google.com and so on. So at first it can seem a lot of these are irrelevant, or these are Google domains that we don't need, and you're totally correct. That's why we have the Gmail filter. In here, I have the URL in here as an expression, and I filter out by having the condition does not match regex, and again this is the rejects that I'm using. So it basically excludes all of the Google domains, gstatic domain, ggpht domains, so on and so forth, which are not needed because this is not exactly what we're scraping. So for example, if I run this, you can see that out of 163 domains, we passed only 18. Then this simply removes duplicates. So for example, if we have duplicated emails, it's going to be removed. So now out of 18 in a single area, so for example, let's say if it was Westlake, out of let's say 18, we got a few duplicated and we're left with 12 items. Now, once we have those 12 items, we go over with a loop through each URL. Yeah. So for example, if I go here, or maybe, you know what, let's run it. Let's see. Oh, so it's executed. Let's test this step. And let's maybe run this step. Reference node is unexecuted. Loop over items. So this is not executed. So, but I execute this one. Yes. Come on. Okay. So now I have to maybe just test the whole workflow. Let's see it execute in real time, and then we can go over, continue going over it. So as you can see, it's working very smoothly, passes over and adds an item. So let's get back into here. So we have a loop. In the loop, the input items are going to be the URLs. So we're going to be adding URL one by one because remove duplicates returned like a list of URLs. And now we're looping over each one of them. So first thing we're doing is we're using get method and we're just adding the JSON, basically the URL from loop over items in here. And now what it does is extracting the data, basically, yeah, the whole HTML from that URL. And then in this one, what we're doing is we're basically setting the URL again in an edit field, and also I'm adding the data in here. But as you can see, for example, this one returned an error. So that means that here it's gonna be filtered out. So as you can see, we're looking if JSON.data exists, and only then it passes through the next step. But for example, if we go back into this, here it's important to actually on error to add continue. That means that if it's gonna error out at least for one website or domain, it's gonna continue running and it's not gonna stop, because for example, if there would be at least one error, then the whole workflow would completely stop and the rest of them wouldn't be checked for potential emails inside of those URLs. So yeah, basically this goes over each of the URL. Let's see. Yeah, so for example, for this, we got the data, and then here we've set it that, oh no, we didn't get the data. Let's check if we have any that were data. Looks like this one got data. So let's select, yeah. So for example, for this one, maybe this is not the best example, but yeah, for example, callclimatecare.com, we got the data, we got all of the HTML. And then again, this passes over back to the loop. Once all of them are finished, then we have a filter, and in the filter, we again simply filtering out those that returned errors. That means probably the business haven't checked their website, they didn't maintain it, it returns 403 error or something like that, and we just can't access it. So it's then no point in it trying to extract email from the business. Damn, I'm talking so much. I hope that whoever is watching this can understand what I'm trying to say, because this is actually really interesting. But then we pass through another filter, and this again, I said that it just discards those that didn't have any data. And then we continue another loop where we use another custom code node. And again, on this one, on error, it's gonna continue and it's gonna always output data. But it has this code that it extracts only the domain of the URL. So for example, if in Airtable the URL is https://airtable.com, so the domain would be only the airtable.com. So this extracts only this part, because in the next step we are trying to use that domain for email search. And I'm using this approach here because I don't want to extract random emails that actually don't exist or was extracted by mistake. And because, for example, if then you're sending out mass emails from your personal, let's say, email, that can, impact the open rate, and then, Google can think that you're just sending a bunch of spam. So I'd rather, extract only the correct emails. And again, this code is going to be included, so you can not worry. But over here, what happens is that we specifically are looking for emails that match that particular domain. So I think over here, let's check. There was only one item that passed. Yeah, so it was fifth. Maybe there were more items, but let's say this was what we extracted based on the domain. So info@ohanair.com or whatever, Ohana Air. And then once those all finish up, so for example, we extracted around 20 emails or at least 20 items in here. Then we check if the emails are with valid domains. So that means what we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking if the email was found, because if it was not found, it's going to match this and it's not going to pass through the filter. But then we use the split function that again turns all of the lists. Yeah, this is not going to be much of them, but this is going to be basically just gonna split a list into a bunch of items. Then what I'm doing is that I'm just turning all of the emails into lowercase. So from here particularly, this again is gonna be done to remove duplicates, because if I noticed there was a use case, for example, there was email hello@something.com from the small letter, and there was hello@something.com from the capital letter. Those would be perceived as two different emails. So what it does in this set fields node, it just basically turns into the lowercase, so then we can later on remove the duplicates. And then we have the last if node. So again, it uses basically the JSON.email and regex function to check if what we're want to add into Airtable actually has an email pattern. And if it does have an email pattern, we simply just create a record in the Airtable with the location, with the search term, and with the email. So for example, here what we added was info@ohanaair.com. Search term was HVAC in Crestview. Location, so this is gonna tag the Los Angeles. As you can see here, Los Angeles is gonna be added. And this is pretty much the whole flow. I'm using this just to prevent adding empty values into Airtable. So as you can see, we have only filled in values. But this, in my eyes, is actually quite interesting and very exciting flow. I hope you were able to understand what I was talking about. If you didn't, let me know in the comments down below, and I might do this step by step. I just didn't think people would actually want to see me build this step by step, because I'm not sure how long this would take. Probably like, I don't know, 40-50 minutes. I don't know if anyone has time to watch that. But if you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like, hit a subscribe to my channel. Again, there's a link where you can download the whole workflow, and also there's a link where you can reach out to me if you ever want to work together on a project or whatever you have in mind. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.